So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728, and apparently, there was a U.S. president called William Taft who spoke about the day when America would basically own, I guess, the Western Hemisphere from the North to the South Pole. Um, Let me read the quote out. Uh, there was another YouTuber, I can't remember the dude's name. It's Three Arrows, I believe his name was. And he was talking, I saw his video on, I think it was Nazi, whether or not the German army was as bad as the Nazis. And he just dropped in this quote by William Taft, and it just blew my mind. And I sent it to a couple other people, and they laughed, and it kind of blew their mind too. So here's the quote: "The day is not far distant when three stars and stripes at three equidistant points will mark our territory, one at the North Pole, another at the Panama Canal, and the third at the South Pole. The whole hemisphere will be ours. In fact, as, by virtue of our superiority of race, it already is ours morally." Now, I don't know a lot about Taft. I think, what's his name? Same guy, 3 Arrows. He was talking about the fact that they custom built a tub for this guy, and it was huge. That's about all I know about the guy. But how horrible. I mean, I'm sure we could probably look at the context, and then it wouldn't be as horrible. I don't know what the context is that you could look at this stuff at and be like, it's not really that bad, you know. I have been recently reading about things like how not just the US, but many other countries staked claims all over the world in terms of these islands in the Pacific, um, just small islands, and even in the Atlantic actually. They are very, very small, and not even just even in the Atlantic, just all over the world, as we know. But and then there are some other videos out there about the American Empire and the amount of ocean that the U.S. controls by virtue of the fact that it has lands in the Pacific, and it's just huge, right? The actual waters, U.S. waters, is huge because of that 200-mile limit off the coast of any land that a country owns. It's just a huge amount of land all over the place. All of the European powers still own islands, well, owned by different measures. They're like, okay, they're self-governing, but Britain or France or the Netherlands or some other place is responsible for their defense, or this or that or the other. It's just kind of not exactly cool. But as Three Arrows was saying, uh, you would not normally attribute a quote like this to a US president. You would attribute it to, like, some Nazi or something, right? Somebody who wants to take over the world, because it certainly sounds like this Taft guy wanted, and it doesn't sound like he was saying something that his listeners would have been surprised to hear. He's not mincing any words in terms of this quote. Um, it's kind of funny, isn't it? The way that countries can switch back and forth because I think that the US supposedly was isolationist at one point, especially during the Second World War. They didn't want to have anything to do with the war. They didn't want to get involved in the war. Um, they told the Jewish people stop talking about the war because if they caused the U.S. to get into the war, they'd get blamed for it. And I think Japan at some point was isolationist as well, and that is and after Japan was no longer isolationist, it went out there and got some colonial interests, like with respect to Korea, took over Korea and became a colonial power. And then they were doing that with China. So I mean, it's like, I don't know. If you're an isolationist, you can get drawn into stuff like the US forced Japan out of isolation at gunpoint. You will trade with us. Hmm. But anyway, it's tremendously disappointing to read a quote like that, especially by virtue of our superiority of race. It already is ours morally. That is, ey, that does not sound good at all. I just, hmm. Maybe at some point I will go and do some research into this guy and humanize him. But as for now, yeah, I'm just gonna take that quote as it is because, as many people may know, apparently when the U.S. wanted to, get influence on Cuba and Puerto Rico and these places, they, the United States, um, I guess there was an accident with a submarine, and that was used as a pretense to say that Spain had attacked the US, and then the US started attacking different places. And I just read something about it recently whereby the president wasn't even like informed. I think it was somebody who went on to become a president just told his people below him, go ahead, attack, 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 attack wherever. Ay, not exactly nice. And this is exactly the kind of thing that people people in the US are like, yeah, that person's paw hungry, and look at Russia, and look at Napoleon, and look at China wanting to expand all over the place. Yeah, well, we're all the same. There's no good guy. There might be a good-looking guy because you don't know all the facts, but there are no good guys. They're just people, people who, and that's one of the things I was talking to my sister about earlier. I want. So you're king. You have a bunch of wives. You see a beautiful young woman, and now you want her. You have 23. You have 100 wives already, but you just want. You can't. What? You're gonna have sex with her once, and that's gonna break the spell, and then you're gonna be bored, and what? Just make the relationships or relationship that you already have, make it work. Or make the country that you already have, make it work. Why do you need like to have quote unquote power over other people when you probably don't have enough power over yourself to have self-discipline and recognize that this is stupid. Yeah. I wanted to do a piece at some point on the fact that, in Maslow's hierarchy, there's supposed to be, the needs, actual physical needs that people have, and self-actualization and respect from other people, respect of your peers, and blah blah blah. And that is not necessarily a good thing, you know? It's supposed to be a good thing that you are rising above the mere physical needs and wants, and now you're into intellectual needs and wants. But yeah, that's basically like trying to keep up with the Joneses, you know? Um, you want the recognition of your peers by, hey, look at this big house that I have. Am I not special? Oh my God, they got a bigger house than us. We got to do something in order to retain that special feeling. Yeah, I don't know that Maslow's stuff is really something to look forward to look at in a as a benign thing or even a good thing. Anyway, that's for another day. Thanks for listening if you did. Peace.